and welcome back to the Take Back Your Home podcast, where you'll get the tools and inspiration to reclaim your identity and sanity at home. Thanks, Rebecca.
Welcome.
This is Rebecca, and I'm Lee. And what are we doing here? You are reviewing your progress and journey through my course, also called Take Back Your Home. You can check that out at leewatersdesign.com. Just click on, I think it's like DIY interior design course or something. There's a link. So it's a lifetime course. You've joined once. You have that for as long as I'm alive and my website's up, you've got the content. And you get some goodies when you join the course. You get a workbook and some chocolate and some tools, a nice measuring tape. It's very important. So we've been recounting Rebecca's journey through that. And today we're going to talk about Module 3, which is technically our fourth module out of 5. And then there's bonus content too, actually. But we'll get to that another time. Okay, so it's all about performance fabrics and fibers because it includes rugs. So performance fibers and rugs and fabrics. And what does that even mean? It's kind of a buzzy word, performance, right? We see it a lot. Performance dog food, performance makeup. Like I've seen, performance underwear. Like I've seen seriously, I've seen all sorts of stuff. So we are going to be talking about it in respects to interior design. But first, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Tech Painting Co. They are our go-to residential painter in the Richmond, Virginia area. However, they do work all over the state of Virginia, and you can connect with them on Instagram at Tech, T-E-C-H, Painting Co. We also want to give a shout out to our other sponsor, Verve Home Furnishings. We could not do this show without these sponsors, but we also could not make our clients happy without Verve or Tech. So Verve has a phenomenal showroom full of fabulousness. It's furniture, furnishings, decorative accessories, rugs. She has an amazing rug event twice a year that's coming up, I think, in October 2023. Check her out on Instagram at Verve Home Furnishings to stay on top of that event. Okay, so Rebecca, back to you. Is your mic good? Your mic looks good.
Yeah,
Okay.
so let me tell you my first introduction that I can remember into performance fabrics. So as a child, I grew up going to church every Sunday, and there are 9 kids in my family.
Yes.
9. There are 5 girls and 4 boys. And every Sunday, I'm top to toe dressed nicely, but we always had Sunday shoes.
Yes.
Did you have Sunday shoes?
Yes.
You only wore on Sunday?
Yes.
So we had Sunday shoes, and my mother always bought us velvet shoes. And I thought that, I don't know, everyone wore velvet shoes, but my mother bought them because that velvet was so easy to clean.
Oh,
and
yeah, because I had the patent ones.
Right, and they get a little scuffed.
And they do.
They do, and that you can walk in mud in those velvet shoes.
You let it dry, crusts off, and then you dry buff it, kind of a thing.
You can even wash it with a little bit of water.
Wow.
Yeah, that velvet, and I'm sure it's back in the 70s, so I'm sure it was 100% cotton that velvet was.
Yeah,
and
it's like a high quality.
So I've always kind of had a little bit of a love affair with velvet since then. I just know that
Me too.
It's a fabric that works, it's luxe,
yes,
it's beautiful, but it performs well.
Yes,
so.
And I'm like pretty sure right now that I talk about velvet in those videos in that module.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
And we talk about leather too, like how just like velvet. So just tangent. Silk velvet, 100% silk velvet or silk rugs. Silk is very not performance. You pick it because nothing else looks and feels like silk. But there are silk velvets or silk blend velvets. We're not endorsing that right now for a, quote, kid-proof or life-proof home. I also want to just say, as we talk about performance, we're talking about with typical and air quotes daily use. If your kid
I was actually going to ask you what velvet.
Yeah.
What would you use now? Like
so we like a polyester blend velvet. So the stereotype is, ew, it was like a yucky poly velvet, right, from the 70s. Like that's what people would say. And it just has the look. It was very shiny in an unnatural way, not like that luxe cotton glisten. It was more like, or the silk one that was very glistening or shiny, however you want to say that. It was fake looking, but now, it's gotten so good. And we go through the different types of fibers like olefin, polyester, acrylic, and others in the course in detail. So, like the pros and cons, like olefin, you can bleach clean it. It's super durable when it's in a fabric, but not in a rug. If the rug has a pile, if the rug is woven, if this is getting confusing, just sign up for the course. I explain it all, and it's written on paper.
Right.
Then it does it crushes.
Right, the paper part.
But it has dull colors.
Yeah.
So if you tend to like more preppy, super saturated colors, like you see this pillow, I like a mix of dull and super saturated. So for me, sometimes I like olefin, and sometimes I want acrylic or polyester where you can get those more vibrant colors. So we go through all the fibers, but I want to just say we are not talking about if your kid gets a hold of a Sharpie, if your kid gets a hold of a knife, if you have a dog that pees everywhere. I can't help you there. We're just kid-proof in the general sense of, every day, what most societal expectations are.
Kid to
adults spill.
I dropped a bowl of blueberries, like warm blueberries on a white rug.
Yeah.
Adults definitely have their moments.
Yeah. Wool is a great performance fiber that people don't realize, and they'll say, well, it was a white wool rug, and I'm like, well, wool, depending on the quality of the wool, but wool inherently repels water-based liquids. Okay. Yeah. So there's, what did you made a note about?
One of your questions in here is, what is your rug type? What are the type? Because you go through all the different rugs. So you said this a second ago, that when you do the modules in the course, you also have the paper, like it's an actual little
there's a workbook.
And I went through, and I love to take notes. I like to see things in my own handwriting. I want to go back and refer to them. That helps me to remember it.
Yeah.
I'm not so much remembering it if I'm taking notes on my phone. I like to write it down. So I like the workbook for that reason, and so I can look very easily. I can look back at those rug types and what kind of rug that I want to be looking for. But when you wrote rug type, my answer was always wool. Tell me different. I don't know.
Can't tell me
That's
nothing.
What I want.
Wool or bust. I love it. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. And if you can get wool that is of good quality, and if you're wondering about like what is good quality wool, it doesn't necessarily have to be like New Zealand wool. I mean, that has a certain connotation to being higher quality for some different real reasons. But we just want to make sure that the wool, like whoever you're buying a wool rug from, you want to make sure that they can answer questions like, was the wool sheared off an animal that was alive versus what we call dead stock wool, where some of those performance qualities, if you will, are just not there when you get dead stock wool, which unfortunately means what it sounds like, the wool was taken from a dead or an animal after it was dead. So we go through a lot of the minutia and just like the science and technicalities of all this in the course. And if it sounds boring, I don't know. What did you think? Was it boring or was it okay?
But I'm never bored talking about fabric.
We're assuming if you're here, you want to understand this. It's like learning to fish, right?
Yeah,
if you understand this stuff, you're gonna just over time. I mean, because I went to school for this, for design, but this is giving you so much of what I learned in school.
Yeah, but it's also just like
saying go fish.
The compilation is just tight, so I don't have to go look online and read about what type of rug should I get.
Sure.
I'm gonna look at your bullet points and go, okay, that sounds like that's something that I want. Maybe I will try a different rug. Yeah. But I do like the bullet points in the book and the little teeny charts. helps me get thinking.
Little cheaty charts like that. Yeah, and no shade to people that are decorators and designers that did not go to school, but got to be careful these days when you're making purchasing decisions from people that have no formal education and maybe are newer to the business, newer being anything less than, 5-6 years where they've had consistent business success, because you see a lot of design influencers that their job is to make content and sell product. Right. Nothing wrong with that. They've definitely, and even the DIY building type of design influencers, I have a lot of respect for what they do because they're taking a big risk creating that content. But they're not getting paid by people to run and manage big clients. Like when I purchase or projects for my clients, like when I run those projects, I'm taking deposits to buy furniture. I'm in charge of the procurement process, which means it has to be right. I have to deliver on my promises. They spend, and their budgets tend to be a little bit bigger when we do that all-in level client project. And so if I've convinced them, like, this rug is going to stand up to your life, it's going to cost you $5,000 or maybe $12,000, and they get it, and it's not accurate, like, we've got a real problem. Right. Whereas someone on Instagram whose job is to sell the rug, not necessarily guarantee the rug, because who do you think people call after their project's done when something's wrong? They don't go to the company, even though we provide a client binder that tells where we got it, the colorway, all this information, warranty information. They come to me because they know me, and I'm the one that told them to buy it.
Well, they're coming for your expertise,
Well, and to resolve it, right? I'm the one that sold it to them and made a markup on it. So it's fair that they come to me. So I have a little bit more skin in the game, you could say, than the average design influencer. And so I'm not saying don't watch them and get inspired. I'm just saying be careful what resources you're looking at to make purchasing decisions. And so this course teaches you what you need to know to make your most educated purchasing decisions.
Right. Read labels.
Read labels too,
Read labels, yeah.
And reviews, and ask the questions. Like I was saying earlier, if a rug company or a rug seller can't tell you about just something as simple as like, where's this wool coming from? Is it livestock, dead stock? It doesn't really matter if it's tufted or hand knotted. There are price differences because of the labor involved, but that's, you can get a good quality rug that's wool for a smaller amount in the hundreds or low thousands, and then you can get one that's 100,000. I mean, so it just kind of depends on labor, how big it is, all that. But we talk about other rug types in there too.
Sure.
Like,
so tell me a little bit. When you do like rug shopping, I've done rug shopping online. There's so many, you actually list quite a few sources to get rugs. Now that to me is hard.
So you're saying in the workbook, we have some sources listed for rugs.
That are like, Rugs USA. That's hard for me. I mean,
don't they sell a sample? I think they have an 18. Yeah. So a lot of the sources that we recommend have sample options. So what you do is they'll have an 18 by 18 inch size when you do that drop down menu. And oftentimes you can pay, it might be $75, $50 to get the sample, but then if you return it, you get the money back. Correct. I'm not saying that's a for sure on that particular source, but just look at that. Yeah, that's generally how we do it. Even with clients, we have a sample, we will order that. And this is for brand new rugs. You can't do this with vintage rugs. Right. So let's start with the brand new options. There's often a sample option. If there's not, then we want to look at return policy. Okay. We want to check with customer service and say, how does the color accuracy, like, can you get someone in the warehouse just to tell me, like, have you seen this rug? Right. Does it match what you're seeing online? And obviously different screens vary, but I think that's more of like a very slight variances. I think there are some websites like, I don't know if I can say this, but like there's one company that sells home and fashion items, starts with an A. I love this store, but they are notorious for their color in the imaging being
not matching,
very different.
It's very saturated and bright, and then you get the item and it's
And I think a lot of fabric and rug vendors have moved toward really investing in photography that accurately portrays it. And they'll give you like an overview shot, and they'll give you at an angle shot. And one of the ones I like, right. How thick is it? And another one, like Jaypore Living is one that we really like. They do a little video of the carpet moving. So like, you know, when you adjust it and it kind of does that ripple and it's like, oh, so you see how the light catches it. I mean, that's kind of next level, but I think Jaypore Living has a good range, they have like a very they have a good range of market prices, right? Like they don't have anything that's 100,000, but they have some that are like 12,000 for
quite an
you know,
investment.
10 by 14 or something, but they also have some that are in the hundreds. So
yeah, I mean it's an investment. So I appreciate all of the different things that vendors have tried to do online so that you can really see what you're getting.
One fact that stood out to me, even though I've always known this since I started studying design, but leather, and I get into, okay, but what is good leather? And there's top hide, or what do they call it? Like, and then there's full hide or top grain hide. What do they call that? Top grain. And it sounds like top level.
Oh yeah.
But really you want the full grain. But if you get leather or a good quality faux leather, if you're vegan or just don't want to, you know, contribute to, some people are just anti-leather and that's okay. There's some really, really good stamped like faux ostrich skin and faux snake and crocodile. Yeah, obviously those are a little more dramatic. The ostrich, and there's even some of the cow leathers that are faux look so good. And I have I think I have links of where sources, that's the word, for where to get those. But the one fact that always astounds me about leather is that it is just inherently 4 or 10 times, it's probably in our notes, but it's like 4 or 10 times stronger than even like heavy duty fabric. And so when you think about that, and so if you've had something that's leather and it's gotten a hole in it, yes, again, maybe a knife can indent a thinner, lower quality leather, but you'd have to have a decent amount of force, even with a knife, unless it's like a super sharp hunting knife, which I know nothing about. But, you know, unless it's that kind of knife, with leather, like your kid takes a butter knife or a dull steak knife, you're not going to be slicing through a high quality leather.
Right.
And so, I mean, because, hello, tell me that you've been a parent of more, like for more than a few years, and your kids never just grabbed a knife when you're unloading the dishwasher and started running with it.
Yeah.
Okay, like tell me I'm not alone, because I swear every parent that's been real has had that experience. And of course you're watching them, so you stop them as quickly as you can while also trying not to make them fall because they're trying to get away from you. But yeah, leather is just one of those performance coverings that
we should talk
gotta
about
remember.
Performance fabrics now. You've covered rugs a little bit.
Yeah.
But other than leather, what is your favorite performance fabric?
I think all in, my favorite is not a type of fiber, but it's a coating. It's called Krypton, Krypton. And they're cool because it doesn't matter most of the time. I'm not one of their engineers, so I don't know, but it seems to not matter what the fiber content is. It could be a cotton blend, linen blend, you know, it could be a velvet or whatever, or a woven, but with Krypton, it is a coating that they submerge the fabric in, and it's like 360 degrees, so it's basically baked in there.
Does it change the feeling of the fabric?
No, it's amazing. And so you can get the color you want, the feel you want, and then it's just in there. And if someone from Krypton is listening to this and I'm describing how it works, come to me in my DMs. It's Take Back Your Home on Instagram, and tell me so I can correct. But that's my understanding, is that it's like a 360 degrees envelopment coating.
So you send fabric before it's been made into
No,
something?
Krypton has their own, like they partner with the different fabric lines, and they're like, oh, let's do this one in Krypton, let's do this one. Okay. And they have their own fabrics, but then I could order from Kravit or Cravat is a manufacturer, and you can buy them through Decorator's Best if you're not a designer. I have a direct account, so that's how I buy it. But Fabrica, Cravat, Schumacher, they all have their Krypton
lines.
It's like...
It's not aftermarket, though. You don't buy something and then get it on.
But we do go through that in the course. There are companies that you can come, say you have a sofa, and you're like, look, I'm not getting a bunch of performance covered fabric stuff. I've got my layout done, because the course isn't designed to just be like buy all new furniture, right? We've had several people go through where they've bought one piece or no pieces. They've just rearranged what they had and kind of grabbed things from other rooms to make do. And it's still been, experientially different in those rooms in a positive way. But if you have something and you're like, you know what, this is good quality, it's not bothering me, this piece needs to stay, or maybe you even love it, but you're just worried to let your kids or people eat near it, whatever, you can have companies come and spray protect your pieces. And it's just, it doesn't last forever, the spray application. It's not that kind of inherent 360 coating, but you spray it on, it lasts anywhere from 6 to probably 18 months, depending on how much you use that piece. And it does protect. It can help things bead up, like liquids bead up. It can prevent grease from permeating. So we talk about that in the course because, not everyone can just go, okay, I'm going to go get a new sofa. Right. Or, whether it's leather or performance fabric.
Right. Okay.
One thing that I think is important to know is that not every fabric will say it's performance, but that doesn't mean you have to walk on eggshells with it. So we talked about velvet, like you were saying, in leather. They're inherently just, if it's got some polyester in that velvet, it's just inherently, or it's a shorter pile velvet, even if it's cotton, it's just easier the way that stuff kind of sticks on top of the velvet or the leather. Obviously, it can't permeate like it's... Unless you have an unwaxed leather, even a high quality leather, if it's unwaxed, you cannot, that's basically where it has no sort of protection. I think they call it aniline.
It's like the shearling boots that people
it's
girls
not,
wear. If those get wet, it's
so suede stained. Is kind of suede leather where it's not shiny. That's actually separate. You can get a smooth leather. I think it's called aniline. Okay. So even I have to look these things up sometimes because there's a lot to know. Yeah. And so that's why it's helpful to have it in the workbook. But aniline is basically where it could be full grain or just top grain, but there's no layer of protection on top of that. So if you put your hand on it and it's greasy because you've been eating fried chicken, it's going to get a greasy handprint and it's never coming out. Some people, you think, why would anyone like that? Well, it has sounds weird, but I mean, it feels like skin, right? So it is skin. So it's like some people like that tactile experience. And over time, like the first few handprints are going to look kind of like, that's unfortunate. But over time, you get these wear marks, and it's very elegant if you appreciate older buildings and just patina, like a copper turns to that green patina over time. There's no way to replicate that except with time. And that gives you respect for the history of that building, to see a copper roof that is now that beautiful copper green that once was a tannish red copper color. But age and time do that. And that's the same thing with an aniline leather. It just is going to wear. I don't even know what we were talking about. What were we talking about with...
we were talking about the leather that was not protected.
Yeah, I thought I was saying something else besides that, but I'm sure we'll come back around. Yeah. You look like you have something you want to say.
I do. So I had an experience recently when I was looking at fabric with my sister for a couch, and it was helpful to me to step outside with the fabric swatch because I felt like the lighting in this particular building was very like blue or something, the neon lights. So
because fluorescent lights are cheaper, so stores are going to use them, right? Their lights are on pretty much all the time.
Right. So it's like same thing with the computer screen. Is you just need to get fabric sometimes
into your space.
In a different light.
Into your space. So I'm going to say that much. Like, don't buy any upholstery online unless it's the amount of money that you're okay never getting back. only order from companies. I think it should be illegal to sell upholstery without being willing to give people samples, whether they need to pay for them or they're free, doesn't matter. You need to give people the option, because I think it's wrong to charge so much and have no idea what it's going to look like.
Right.
Yeah. 100%, especially from that one store that sells the clothing and the upholstery.
Right.
It's not even cheap. It's
Right.
expensive. I'm
Right.
sure everyone knows who I'm talking about. Love them, but please upgrade your photography. Oh, man.
Okay, so I need more help with fabric. So, as a consumer,
Yeah.
I don't have access to fabric like you do as a designer.
I think you have access to a lot more than you realize, actually.
Okay.
So I reference a couple and I already mentioned one of them, Decorator's Best. There's a couple others on there that I will leave private for the course participants, but Decorator's Best sells a ton of all the same stuff that I have direct accounts with. So again, Schumacher, Fabric Hut, Vervain, Cravat, Cole and Sons wallpapers.
So
like
if
Thibaut.
let's say I'm choosing, I maybe want to recover some chairs, I would need to contact the place that I've chosen to recover them, and they would tell me how much fabric I needed, and then I could order it myself.
Yes, and they're always really good. So your local upholstery shop, please support them. Please don't keep throwing stuff into the landfills. If the legs are sturdy, even if the springs are broken, if the piece fits and you like the shape of it, take it, put it in your truck or your SUV or whatever. Maybe not a sofa, but send them the measurements, send them a picture, say, what kind of yardage are we looking at? Maybe on a sofa, you might have 20 yards if it's a decent sized sofa and there's a small pattern on your fabric. Or if it's a chair without a pattern, it might be like 6 yards. So you never know till you ask.
Right.
And I think information is power, or I wouldn't have made the course, right?
Right.
But yeah, it's like, get a quote, see, because then you can take that price per yard, go to the website, say, okay, let's just not even look at the Schumacher because I can't afford that if I need 10 yards or 20 yards. So I'm going to stick to like Fabric Hut, or not that Fabric Hut doesn't have some higher end things as well, but just in general.
You look at a different price point. You look at the price point that you're willing to go to, and it really does end up costing the same, if sometimes less, than buying a brand new piece of furniture and the quality could be better.
It's not always like apples to oranges. Like, okay, it's going to be $600 to recover it, and then say another $600 for fabric. That's $1,200 a chair. I'm not saying that's not inexpensive or that it's inexpensive. I'm just saying, okay, to buy, maybe it's 8-way hand tied, that seat, and it holds you, right? It's gentle. Whereas a lot of chairs that are new off certain big box sort of stores, it's just like you just sit. And it's just like, it gives, but it's all at once, whereas an 8-way hand-tied cradle. 8-way hand-tied chair cradles you. And, as I've gotten older, I have some different physical stuff. It's like, I need a good chair. So I'd rather buy an older chair frame if that's what my budget allows, then save up to buy the fabric, then deliver the fabric in the chair and pay the upholsterer. That can be staged over several months or even a year if you need that time.
No, for sure.
No shame in that.
And we've also talked about this before, that a chair and a couch can cost roughly the same thing.
Yeah.
Because the same amount of work has to go into building both.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. So Facebook Marketplace, again, shout out. I can't tell you how many pairs of chairs we've gotten on there for clients. And I mean, it's all like the clients know, like we're getting a great quality frame. We're going to take it to the upholsterer. They're going to, zhuzh up the foam, any sort of down wrap that needs to be re-added, and we're going to cover it. We might remove a skirt. We might add a skirt. We might lacquer any exposed wood, a color, and it's just something that no one else is going to have. I want to add in to my list of fabric resources a specific vendor that you buy directly from them. So they're the manufacturer. They manufacture in the United States. It's like a very toxic-free fabric, which unfortunately cannot be said for a lot of fabrics. Just the dye and the process, like what it does to the environment, is not great. But it's Revolution Performance Fabrics, and I think they manufacture in South Carolina maybe, or North Carolina, but Their cost per yard is very good. If you go on the website, I mean, I get a discount as a designer, but I feel like their retail price is the most expensive fabric, I think, is like $40 a yard. I could be wrong, but I've specified fabrics before that are $300 a yard. And we don't use that for curtains for most clients. It's more like, oh, here's a pillow, a set of pillows. We need a yard of this fabric, and it's just very expensive. But this is super awesome. I have an entire sectional in my office, my home office, covered in Revolution's. I think it's their Sugar Shack. I don't remember the color, but the pattern's called Sugar Shack. And it's like one of their most popular ones, just kind of a linen look. Not really a linen look. It's like a linen blend look. Yeah. But it's actually olefin, polypropylene. Wow. And my dog lays in the same spot on this sectional. Can't get her to change it up. So my dog's a hound dog. She's short-haired. I don't know if anyone's familiar with short-haired dogs, but a lot of them get kind of that greasiness to them. Mm-hmm. So I just unzip that cushion cover, put a little Dawn directly on the grease, pop it into my tub with some laundry detergent and a little bleach, rinse it. Bleach. The worst part, bleach. It's all bleach. You can get Sharpie off their stuff. Sharpie. Also, hot tip, hide your Sharpies. Your kids should never know where your Sharpies are. If your kids know where a Sharpie is, you got to move them. There was a point in our lives where my kids were young enough that we kept the Sharpie on a high shelf in the garage. Was it a pain in the beep to go get it every time I needed it? Yes.
I'll tell you where
my sister never had Sharpie in my house.
My sister kept not just Sharpies, but every writing utensil in the trunk of their car for a little while, because her son was
my hero.
Her son he'd get a hold of that. Whatever.
They're learning. They're gonna explore and grab stuff.
He would leave a pen in his lab coat and come home from work, and he would just find that.
Oh, she was hiding them from the husband?
No, from the child. Oh. But Dad would come home from work.
He would have
a rogue pen in his pocket. Yeah. And that little guy would just
grab it.
Go to town. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! At first, I thought you were saying she's hiding from the husband. I was like, "Oh,
he's not
so funny." Because my dad was a chemical engineer when he worked, and he's retired now. But yeah, he would always have because you didn't have a phone back then, so you'd have your little notepad and your pen, because he had to go through and make sure everything was right, and you had to keep the numbers somewhere, not in your head, so you had to write it down. I love that. Okay, what else are you needing help with on the fabrics? Or is that the main thing, the sources?
Yes, I wanted to talk about sourcing because I'd been to the design center with you, and I was blown away, and I'm like,
so she's talking about a designer only design center, so
that I can't go by myself.
Here in Richmond, we have a store called UFAB, so U-FAB. Mm-hmm. They have for retail customers such as yourself. They have a store, so you can go there and just see all the hangers of fabric.
Lovely.
And just get that textural and visual experience where you're like, okay, let me see what I'm drawn to, feel it, pull it out, read that label, what's the fiber content, which we educate you about in the course, and what's noted about its performance qualities. What is the washing code, or cleaning code? So in all fabric, you'll see a little letter, or sometimes it's two letters. So like WW on the fabric's cleaning code label means for water washable, or you can use water-based cleaning agents.
Okay.
S, I think, means it needs a solvent. There's one for dry cleaning. And so sometimes performance fabrics aren't wet washable. And I think that's important to know. Just because it says it's performance doesn't mean you can just take a fire hose to it and expect it to get clean. So acrylic and olefin are ones that are wet washable, but acrylic pills, Pills.
It's a little
which
balls
it's little nubbies. Yeah, if you've ever had a less expensive sweater, it can do that. But the cool thing about acrylic is that Umbrella is an acrylic, a manufacturer of acrylic fabric. So it's solution dyed acrylic, meaning they can get really vibrant colors melted down into the plastic, because that's what acrylic is, and that color's not going to fade for a very long time. Basically, the top layer could fade, but the color's all the way through the fiber. Whereas most cotton T-shirts are just dyed once the fabric has been woven. Then they dip it and they dye it. So it's like a very fade resistant, which is why you can use a lot of their stuff indoor, outdoor, but it pills. If you know that, it's fine if you're willing to go every few months, get a little sweater shaver, put the kids on that. Hey, shave the sofa down. Just in like the highest traffic areas. Like the back's not going to be a problem unless someone's like, your dog, my dog likes to rub herself on the back of my sofa.
It's the arm of the chair where you're.
Yes. Your arm, wherever the middle cushion is. But Olefin, you can bleach it, but the colors are a little bit more dull. So it's not going to be maybe as vibrant as some people may like. There is, again, no perfect anything. You just have to pick what is best for you.
Right.
So on pillows, in pillows, I don't stress so much unless it is $300 yard fabric, which could be sprayed with a protectant. I don't stress so much for pillows about them being performance because you are a little bit more limited with your fiber types.
You're not sitting on top of it, hopefully.
Well, yeah, I mean, my kids will, but hopefully their bums are clean when they're staying on them. But not always.
But it's not an everyday plopping down on the pillow. That does make me cringe sometimes when someone sits on some of my pillows.
I know. Yeah. Well, and another tangent is just make sure you're flipping and plumping your cushions and your pillows.
I do, yeah.
Honestly, like at least once a month.
Yeah.
And yes, it's another thing to do. And this is just, I don't know. Life sucks sometimes.
No, I know.
But you got to do it.
I do those. I have 2 club chairs and I flip them.
Yeah, it wears more evenly.
I switch them, I flip them, I turn them around because I noticed that some of my velvet's starting to wear on it. Yes. So I do have to recover those at some point.
People come over, you flip it to the good side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's part of the 5-minute tidy that we talked about in the last episode. Okay, one thing I cannot forget to say, in addition to even wear on your fabrics that you spent all this money on, is flipping those cushions, but also vacuuming. You've got to vacuum your upholstery.
Right.
I mean, I would have you vacuum it once a week, but I don't even do that because life would become it would not be worth it, right? But
spend a lot of time doing that.
You just feel, we don't want to feel like we're chained to our houses, right? But once you invest in upholstery and fabric, you need to keep it clean. Like you think about all the dirt that we get on our hands, we wash our hands.
And you wash your clothing.
Yeah, right.
And I say to my kids all the time, don't touch the furniture if you've eaten something before washing your hands. You can change your pants. I can't change my couch.
Yeah.
I can't throw my couch in the washing machine. So I need you.
Not until she gets the next performance cover.
We do have rules about where we eat in the house because you can flip a cushion, but you can't flip the arms of your chair.
No.
You have to.
Cheetos and Sharpies. I just say if you allow those things in your home, like they're not bad things, but if you allow them in your home, you just have to like know that you still have to clean it, even with performance fabric. Like you're gonna have to put in work to clean it, and it's like not worth it to me. So I say, if we have Cheetos, it's an outside snack. If we need a Sharpie, mommy will go find it for you. Turn around so you don't see where I'm going. So make sure you're vacuuming your upholstery at least every few months. Like give it like a good. You should have an upholstery attachment. You just put it on your little hose part, and you just get it in there, flip it, get what's under it. Because what happens, it's not just stains. It's actually not the stains. It's because it's microscopic dust. It gets, if you look at my fingers, if you imagine that this is fabric woven together and you have these microscopic little holes between the fingers, right? Just like my hands couldn't hold water right now. It's the same thing with the dirt. The dirt works its way through the holes and separates the fibers, and it makes it look like bedhead, but like this is basically what's happening to your fibers.
It's just wearing until there's a little hole. It breaks it down.
Yes, until there's a little hole.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the most surprising thing that I ever have learned in my career, is that if you are not vacuuming your upholstery, let's frame it like this. If you are vacuuming your upholstery regularly, I would hope once a month. If you were doing that, it will last 4 times longer.
It's good.
I mean, that means the difference in like a 5-year couch fabric in like 20. And I'm not saying you need to keep your fabric for 20 years, but when you pay a lot of money for a sofa, it's pretty nice when it can last as long as you need it to.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Without looking sad.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Okay. Well, I know this has been dense, but do you have any other questions or thoughts before we go?
I don't know.
You think people might have questions about?
No, I think I just need to go back and review some of my notes that I wrote because there's a lot. There's a lot to performance. I mean, I do have more questions. Like, I learned stuff about double rub. I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
I mean,
we can talk a little bit about.
Like, I would like to just maybe talk a little bit about the. We talked about the back, the label.
Yeah, because it is in the course. Yeah.
But also, really, the double rub, but also what types of fabric are used for what. Like, this isn't upholstery fabric, is it? It's not necessarily a...
Yeah. So there's a few different industry standard tests, like ones like the Martin... I want to say martingale, but that feels like something from horseback riding. Yeah, it's like a piece that you... Anyways, connect to the girth to the bride. Anyways. So it's not martingale, martingale. I think it's martingale, and that's technically a little different than a double rubs test. And a double rubs abrasion test is when you put the same 2 pieces of fabric on these little machine pads and they rub them together, and it says how many double rubs. So this would be 1, 2. If you can see my fingers, they're just zipping across each other. Yeah, back and forth. How many back and forths can we get before the fabric shows like visible wear? So the Martin bale or whatever it is very similar, but I think instead of the same fabric, they put some sort of standardized pad against the fabric and say, okay, how long does it take for the pad to break down the fabric? So very similar, but regardless, let's say, for upholstery, you want a minimum of 15,000 double rubs. Unless it's a little chair. I mean, I've seen people put silk on chairs where they're like, this is an antique. No one's ever allowed to sit in this. And there's fewer and fewer homes like this, right? But they're like, this was my great such and such's chair, and it's too small for people these days. Like, we're just bigger people now. And so it lives in that chair, kind of like Queen Victoria's house or chair at that one castle. Sorry. Like no one like sits in it. Do you know what I'm talking about? That one? Okay. So with that said, 15,000 or more is what you need for upholstery. Silk is not going to get to that. So, and then where you get into like performance, like high performance, or not high performance, heavy duty levels would be I can't remember if it's 25 or 30,000. Could even be 20,000, but it's a significant jump, like at least 5 to 15,000 higher. But there are heavy duty performance fabrics that are around 100,000 double rubs. Yeah. So those might be like a contract or commercial use fabric. And so that's where I tell people that's overkill. And that thing could actually look like garbage before 100,000 double rubs. Because you think every time you sit down, that's a double rub, right? Like you've rubbed your butt on it, that's a double rub. So how many times are you going to sit down in the exact same spot on the sofa? Like probably not 100,000 times before you replace the fabric, because the dirt is going to break it down before then, because you're probably not going to vacuum your upholstery once a month like I'm begging you to. So, it's really interesting how sometimes we like to, think the double rubs will save us. But really, it's overkill. Like sometimes we just need discipline to not eat Cheetos on the sofa and to vacuum it. But it's hard. Life is hard. We live very busy, even if they're privileged lives. Like we in America have, I mean, not everyone obviously, but like a lot more of us in America compared to other countries have a lot of privilege where, yes, we lead busy lives, but they're still hard. Like there's a lot of privilege, but there's still a lot of time and effort and figuring out the logistics. So the last thing we often want to do is refrain from our junk food and, taking time to vacuum stuff. But
I am going to vacuum.
I just want to make sure
when I get home. I did make we have a love seat and it tends to be our dog's favorite spot to sit, both of them.
Yeah.
So that actually does get
if the animals are
quite a
there,
bit.
yeah, I'd say once a week.
Gets quite a bit, and so that's on one of my chore charts for my kids. It rotates every week. Someone vacuums that piece of furniture every week. But I didn't really have my other couches, but they'll be delighted to know that they get to vacuum all the furniture now.
I love it. You're welcome, kids. All right. Well, thank you again for bearing with me on this dense, like you said, it's a lot, but I think the CourseWorks workbook takes you through a lot of the aspects. But if anyone is struggling with it in the course, hit me up in the forum. We'll get to the bottom of the issue. And if you have questions about the course, again, hit me on Instagram at Take Back Your Home. And we'll see you in another couple weeks with the final, the fourth module before the bonus content. So thanks for sharing your journey with us, Rebecca.
Welcome.
Thank you again to our sponsors, Tech Painting Co. and Verve Home Furnishings. Check out the course called Take Back Your Home at leewatersdesign.com. Thanks, y'all. Bye.